So moral red lines, where do you draw them?
I'm perfectly comfortable with the way I have conducted my political career, and I'd be happy to respond to any specificity you want to apply to the term. What was it?
Moral red lines.
Moral red line. Yeah.
Well, let me give you.
I'm very comfortable with my moral red line.
It's a great question. Mitch McConnell on the topic of moral red lines. One instance, surely top of mind when Mitch McConnell condemned Donald Trump in the bloody aftermath of the January 6th insurrection, calling Trump's actions, quote, a disgraceful dereliction of duty, insisting that Donald Trump was, quote, morally responsible for provoking the events of that day. Only to turn around 2 weeks later when he committed to supporting Donald Trump as the Republican nominee should he run again in 2024 or ever. So Jonathan Swan, an interviewer in a league of his own, asked him about it.
Well, as the Republican leader of the Senate, it should not be a front-page headline that I will support the Republican nominee for president.
After you've said that about him, I think it's astonishing.
I think I have an obligation to support the nominee of my party. And
is there anything they could do?
I will. That will mean that whoever the nominee is has gone out and earned the nomination.
Okay, but Donald Trump earned it last time. And I'm just trying to understand, what you say matters. You're a very important voice in this country. You're the leader of your party. And you seem to hold two concurrent, conflicted positions, which is
not at all inconsistent. Not at all inconsistent. I stand by everything I said
I understand, but
January 6th and everything I said on February the 13th.
I understand that, but what I want to understand, which I haven't heard you address, is
because I don't get to pick the Republican nominee for president. They're elected by the Republican voters all over the country.
I fully understand that, but take Liz Cheney, for example.
You want to spend some more time on this as well?
I actually do, because I actually... No, I genuinely want to understand this. I really want to understand how you think about this, because Liz Cheney, who has the same view of you of January 6th, she said she doesn't want Donald Trump anywhere near the White House, and she's going to work to not make that happen, because she thinks that there are some things more important than party loyalty.
Well, maybe you ought to be talking to Liz Cheney.
No, but I'm not trying to... I really, it's not a gotcha. I'm just actually trying to understand, is there any threshold for you of what is someone on a moral level?
I say many things I'm sure people don't understand.
Joining us now is Jonathan Swan, Axios national political reporter, and Tim Miller, writer-at-large for The Bulwark and an MSNBC political analyst who spent as much time as I have watching that and rewatching it. And I think I want to know from your view first, Jonathan, what did it reveal to you?
Well, I've wanted to ask him that question for more than a year now. I found it quite jarring last year because I watched, and I'm sure you both did too, his speech on January 6th and then his speech on February 13th. Mitch McConnell is such an emotionally controlled man, almost to a fault. But on those two occasions, he spoke, you could see the emotion, and you could see the outrage. And he spoke with, it was morally unambiguous. He said that Donald Trump was responsible for fomenting a violent insurrection. He described it as terrorism. He listed the bill of particulars, the people chanting "Hang Mike Pence" with the gallows, and went through all of it and said that Donald Trump was practically and morally responsible. And then I saw, it might have been 12 days, 2 weeks max after that second speech, he went on, it was Bret Baier's show on Fox News, and was asked whether he would support Donald Trump if he was the nominee in 2024. And without even blinking, he said yes. And I was, okay. So firstly, so that was kind of stunning to me because at the same time we were seeing Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney and Mitch McConnell viewed January 6th exactly the same way. They thought that it was terrorism. They were as appalled by it as each other, and they blamed Donald Trump equally for it. And they both, I believe, would like Donald Trump to disappear from national politics equally. But they reached separate conclusions. Her conclusion was, I'm going to commit my career to taking on Donald Trump, even if it costs me my seat. And I don't want him anywhere near the Oval Office. Mitch McConnell's conclusion was, loyalty to the Republican Party trumps all, and if Donald Trump is the nominee, I will support him, regardless of the fact that I've said that he's responsible for a violent insurrection.
Tim, I want to know how you saw it.
Yeah, I want to, if you don't mind, try to step back and try to explain Mitch McConnell and maybe look at his February 13th remarks in a little bit of a different context. You know, look, throughout all of history, anybody in politics has to balance their values, their moral beliefs with what they believe is politically expedient. And at times those things are in conflict, right? Like, this is politics. Politics ain't beanbag, as they say. And so, you know, at times people decide to do what's politically expedient versus what they think is morally correct, no matter your party. I look at Mitch's predecessor, Harry Reid, right? When he lied about Mitt Romney's tax returns, he wasn't thinking about the morals. He was thinking about what was politically expedient at that time. What Jonathan's interview with Mitch revealed is that Mitch McConnell is a category difference from all of those other politicians. That Mitch McConnell does not try to balance at all the moral values that he may or may not have with what is politically expedient. What he believes is that whatever is politically expedient is moral. And so I want to offer that what he said is actually not a contradiction, because on February 13th, what he thought was politically expedient for his party was to signal to swing voters, to signal to the remaining Republicans with a conscience that this party is not all thrown in with the domestic terrorists, with the people that are responsible for the deaths at the Capitol. 2 weeks later, when the politics began to change, what he was doing was signaling to MAGA voters that they shouldn't break up the party, you know, that they could stick with him, that at the end of the day, he'll do whatever the MAGA voters want him to do, just as he has the last 5 years. And so for Mitch McConnell, his actions were consistent, because his whole moral framework is whatever I need to do to advance my power and my party's power right now is the moral thing. And why that interview is so important, why John's interview is so important, is because Mitch is winning that argument right now. In all of Republican Washington and many Republican voters, they live in this bubble where in the post-Trump era, they don't consider the morals anymore. They've decided that owning the libs is the most important thing, is the highest and best purpose. And so by asking that question, Jonathan kind of removed him from that bubble and from that moral framework in which he had to kind of think about this and answer a question: do I have any morals that supersede politics? And the answer was that does not compute for Mitch McConnell. You could just see it. You could just see him shaking his head. He honestly almost couldn't even understand Jonathan's question. He was befuddled, because for him, what is politically right is what is moral. And that was tested on January 6th. He saw the deaths at the Capitol, and he still said, meh, I don't care.
See, I guess I'm old enough to have watched Mitch McConnell during the Bush years, and I kind of believe the first answer is how he actually feels, and it's the category of what Jonathan Swan described as he's so controlled. He doesn't like if he regrets anything, he regrets letting out what he actually felt at the end of the second impeachment. That if he could put anything back in the two, because Mitch McConnell hates to move. He hates to move from majority to minority offices. And Mitch McConnell loves getting people on the Supreme Court. And I think that all that discipline, and I actually thought one of the most interesting things he said to you, Jonathan, was, my wife likes me. My neighbors think I'm nice. Mitch McConnell and his wife, Elaine Chao, are survivors. They lived the same life during the Bush years. She was the labor secretary, and he was in the same job then. And I guess my question for you is, which do you think was true? The horror that Mitch McConnell expressed about 1-6, or the Zen approach to reelecting Donald Trump?
So what I'd be curious to know is, and I don't have another follow-up question, unfortunately,
You'll get one.
to me, but what, really? Okay, that's news to me. So I get another interview with him? Okay.
Yes.
I'm curious whether he would say what Bill Barr says, which is Bill Barr says Donald Trump is, appalling, terrible. Everything he did after the election was insane, and he hopes to God that Donald Trump's not the nominee in 2024. However, you would say to Bill Barr, if he is the nominee, would you vote for him? And Bill Barr says yes, because he believes the left is a greater threat to everything he cares about in this country than Donald Trump or whoever the Republican is. And I don't know that McConnell believes that, because Barr is more of an ideologue than McConnell, and I think Barr has policies that he cares about more than McConnell. McConnell's more of a pure political animal who cares about winning. And, you know, I've read his book, he's a big baseball fan, he's very competitive, and he's animated by the game of politics. So I think it'd be interesting to ask that question to McConnell, but I don't think he would view the left taking over in such apocalyptic terms, which, look, I don't have any reason to doubt his sincerity on that day, January 6th. He bucked Donald Trump. I think he was genuinely outraged. His wife resigned. But I think that there was this 2-week period max when he and a few others in very senior positions thought, finally, we're done with this guy. We can cut him out of the party. And then that window closed and everyone just shut their mouths, and McCarthy went down to Mar-a-Lago, and suddenly it was back to normal, and the RNC and everyone, the NRSC was giving Trump whatever it was, the Freedom Award, or, you know, it was so quick. It didn't even take a month.